Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder on Weather here. Sorry, I'm feeling a little bit congested and under the weather this morning. Allergy season is kicking into high gear down here in Texas. But what we're concerned about for the next couple of days is this powerful upper level low that's forming off the west coast. This is the culprit that's going to bring some severe storms and even some rare tornadoes in and around the Sacramento Valley region later on this afternoon. And that's going to send spokes of energy, not just today, but heading into tomorrow, really all along the coast where it's going to be aggregating those flash flooding concerns. So I appreciate all my subscribers out there. If you are new here, I'm here on a daily basis giving you detailed weather breakdowns. So hit the subscribe button and follow along so I can keep you well ahead of the storm. So here's the latest satellite picture on the bigger view. All the rain that was impacting the state of Florida for much of the weekend, it's starting to wind down. Finally, that system is slowly trying to move out. They're trying to get that Daytona 500 race underway, but other than that, we have these lake effect snow bands that are impacting portions of the Northeast, but it's really clear across a good part of the country. All the instability is right around where this low pressure is, and that's sending that spokes of energy on the southern side with all the flooding rains, but it's also going to increase the severe threat and the tornado threat as we get into later on this afternoon, especially towards the noon 1 o'clock time frame. So the Storm Prediction Center has actually upgraded this to a 5% chance of a spin up tornado later on this afternoon. They're pretty rare. They do happen. In fact, the Sacramento National Weather Service has issued just three tornado warnings in the last year. It's been about 344 days since they issued the last tornado warning. You have to go back all the way to March. So they do see some tornadoes here, but they're definitely rare when they happen. What's rare about this setup is just the expansion of this 5% zone within this hatched risk. So if you live anywhere near the Modesto region, into the Stockton, back into Jackson, into the Sacramento region, into Auburn, all the way up into Chico, you're going to be in the most favored area, just seeing a possible spin up tornado or two. I would say the time frame to watch is around noon to about 7 o'clock. I think there's two pieces of energy. One comes through early afternoon. The second piece comes through towards the evening time frame. And we got to be concerned about not only the tornado front, but also the heavier rain. So yes, this area got hit hard. Everything is pretty much saturated out here. So now we have another wave of energy coming through. And yes, the Weather Prediction Center has highlighted that slight risk for excessive rainfall, all those areas into the Bay region, but especially as you swing towards Santa Maria into the Santa Barbara region. Yeah, it's like deja vu all over again. Upgraded moderate risk for excessive rainfall as those bands just relentless all afternoon. So they are expecting more flooding concerns, and they've got flood watches really all along the coast there, pretty much the entire state, going into today and even to tomorrow. So here's the lightning index as we head into tomorrow, this afternoon. Yes, it's going to be prevalent. So they think these little bubblers start to bubble up, especially into the heat of the afternoon, right around that noon time frame. I've stopped it here about 4 o'clock, and it should be lit up across that region where they are expecting a nice little tornado or two. So the warnings are definitely out. So you just have to be on high alert if you live in this region for that tornado front that could unfold from about noon to 7 o'clock time frame. So if we expand the view and look at the radar, I can basically see there's not much going on for the rest of the country, at least for right now. So even later on today, it even stops raining in Florida, much of the Northeast, much of the entire United States, pretty much 90% of the country is pretty clear. It's just really all the instability is out west, and they're basically taking all the energy out of the atmosphere and dumping it on across the west coast. As you go inland, yeah, we're talking heavy, even feet of snow back in the Sierras again. That swings into Nevada, back into the Pocatello region in Idaho with some of those more heavier snow bands. But that's where I think it starts to, it's the the instability really starts cranking towards that noon 1 o'clock time frame. I've stopped the clock about 1 o'clock, what the radar could potentially look like, and you see these little separated, isolated renegade bubblers. Those are the ones that we've got to be concerned about towards the Stockton region, into the Bay region, into the Sacramento region, up here to Chico. So these are the ones, this is the reason why they have that alert in place for that isolated tornado or two. So don't be surprised if you get a tornado warning or two out of this region as we head into this afternoon. So that's why I'm giving you plenty of advance notice to kind of be on high alert as we hit into that peak heating time frame. But for the rest of the country, talk about heating, we're going to be warming up in a big way as we got the southwest winds really starting to surge, and that southwest wind is a warm wind, and that's going to surge really all the way up into the Canadian border. So a good part of the country really elevates those temperatures in a big way for most of the week, while this trough is finally shifting off into the Atlantic. And really, again, the only instability is out west with this system out west. But once we get towards midweek, I think things start changing for the middle of the country. But we got to get past Tuesday first, because we still have more heavy rain across the West Coast. So it's a compounding effect from today and even into tomorrow. It's likely going to be shifting even further south, including those areas into Santa Barbara again, back into Los Angeles. Los Angeles is already almost at their annual rainfall just for the entire year, just in the last 6 weeks. And they're adding to those totals today, going into those next couple of days. And I think by then on Tuesday, some of that rain will actually sneak down into the San Diego region. So overall, for the next 2 days, this is what it looks like. I mean, like I said, it's basically even stopped raining in Florida, and there's not much happening for a good part of the country. It's really that instability out west, and they're taking all the energy out of the atmosphere, and some of this could definitely be some flooding rains. That's why they've got flood concerns highlighted across the coast through Washington and Oregon, but especially as you go into northern, central, and eventually pieces of Southern California there with that heavier rain. So if we zoom into that area, we can see, adding to those totals for the next 2 days through Wednesday morning, yeah, another couple of inches there into the Oxnard region, into the Santa Barbara region, back into Los Angeles. Some of the higher elevations definitely could pick up 4, 5, 6 inches to rainfall again. Riverside, Oceanside, another 1 to 2 inches. Again, this is on top of all the flooding rains you saw as of recently with all those atmospheric river events. This is just another one that's going to be adding impact in those areas. But let's take you to the Gulf, right? Because we had a warm February so far. We've had some cold fronts, but notice the cold fronts haven't actually made it all the way into the Gulf of Mexico. They've really kind of stopped short. And that is going to be the culprit from what may fuel these storms later on at the end of the month, because those temperatures out there in the Gulf and especially into the Atlantic, they are plenty warm, right? For this time of year, those areas into the Atlantic, we're already talking about July type temperatures in February. So yes, right along the coast here and even into the Gulf of Mexico, we've got those elevated temperatures, and I think those are only going to be heating up in a big way, especially as the atmosphere, the surface land, the land masses start to heat up across the US. But what we're looking at on the big picture is this split flow. It's pretty prevalent when you have an El Nino. So you got the southern branch of the jet stream, and then you also have the northern branch of the jet stream. And notice the separation here. By Wednesday, headed into Thursday, we're going to have a little bit of vorticity kind of break off finally from California and tapping into some of those warmer temperatures. And underneath that, with some of that colder air aloft, it may spin up some stronger thunderstorms right there in the Missouri region. But I think it really starts to amplify and get elevated as we head into that Thursday time frame, especially into portions of the Illinois region, into western Tennessee, western Kentucky. This is the favorite area would likely see. Nothing official from the Storm Prediction Center as of yet, but the learning model is already kind of picking up on this, of this bullseye, this area right here that we've got to be concerned about for some stronger to severe thunderstorms right around where that low pressure is heading into that Thursday time frame in western Tennessee and western Kentucky. But notice as we swing through into Friday, heading into Saturday and for the Northeast, That's because it actually starts to get colder again for those areas into the northeast. But on the surface map, here's what it looks like on Thursday. Right around where that low pressure is, yes, we've got to be concerned about some severe storms, if not some heavier, potentially even flooding rains for southern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio here, back into Kentucky here, as well as into Tennessee, as this will continue to move across to the east, tapping into some of those warmer temperatures. So heading into Thursday, it's still warm, right? We've got plenty of warm conditions for a good part of the country, even into the northeast. But we do have some colder air that's going to be lurking up there in Canada, and that promises to swing south and head into the northeast by the time we get into this weekend time frame. But underneath that, on the southern branch, the stormier, warmer side of that split flow, we have heavier rains now into Friday across the Carolinas, back into West Virginia, into Virginia. Those areas got to be concerned about definitely some heavier rains as this will continue to push off, as we'll watch the colder side of this system coming in from the northwest flow down to the southeast and head into this region, into the mid-Atlantic, as well as into the northeast for this weekend time frame. And if we look at the temperatures, by the time we head into Saturday morning, there's that colder push of air. So with 20s back on the map into the Ohio region, even teens into Michigan, even to the teens in single digits up here in New York, 20s back into Pennsylvania. So this is definitely a cold shot of air back into the single digits into Vermont, New Hampshire, even portions of Maine there. And then as we go into Sunday, those temperatures even drop further. So now we've got the 20s, if not the teens, in portions of West Virginia, low 20s in eastern Kentucky. Those 20s actually sneak down into the Carolinas, even into Virginia, with those single digits and even below zero temperatures highlighted over portions of Maine. So there's definitely a colder shot of air for the northeast that will be coming this weekend. But we've got to be concerned about as we head into later into the month, right? So yes, that all that energy is finally going to be shifting out of the West Coast. They're going to be sending pulses of energy out ahead of it. But it's really not until what we get into that 26, 27, 28 timeframe as we head towards the end of the month, we're going to be starting to see this El Nino induced trough ejections coming in. So there's another leading piece of energy that could impact this region as we head into that 26 time frame, mainly out ahead in the warm sector across Arkansas into Louisiana. But it's really the main piece of energy that comes behind that. That's when we see this massive bowling ball type trough ejection swinging out of the West Coast. And that would be a nasty setup. Look at that powerful jet streak, 115, screaming out of the southeast where this low pressure is. We've got to be concerned about this setup. So we've got plenty of time to watch this, but we're definitely setting up for around likely multiple days of severe storms as we head towards the end of the month. And of course, we've got an extra day now with leap year on the 29th this year for February. So this is the favorable setup that could lead to multiple days of severe storms, and it's got plenty of fuel that's untapped waters into the Gulf of Mexico, right? So the energy is just kind of waiting to be lifted. And so once it has some sort of lift mechanism, that's going to surge those dew points well northward. So now we're talking upper 60s, mid 60s. Those lower 60s reach all the way into Missouri, into western Tennessee, all the way in Kentucky. This would be a favorable setup, right? Literally about 55, as that's the breaking point. You could see some severe storms. So even severe storms is not out of the question for this particular setup into Iowa, into Illinois, back into Missouri, and all those points southward and eastward. So this is an area that we're definitely going to be watching and fine-tuning as we head towards the end of the month for several days of severe storms. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update where I protect you before and after the storm.